One of Destiny's biggest problems is burnout. It's hard to avoid, but unfortunately, players just play the game too much and they get burnt out. This is leading to players taking breaks or simply just not wanting to play Destiny anymore. Now, the problem that I want to talk about today is directly linked to burnout, and it's why players are dropping Destiny. This problem is simply called being a meta slave. Now, I can definitely say that I am a meta slave, and it's just built into the game, and sometimes it's unavoidable, and it's leading to Destiny's downfall. My goal of this video isn't to stop you from being a meta slave. It's simply just to inform you of why being a meta slave could be bad for you and the game, and it may even be the reason for you being burnt out. Hopefully, you can learn something from this video. As a meta slave myself, I probably won't even stop being one even after making this video. Now, before we cover why it's a problem, we need to discuss what being a meta slave is. So if you don't know, in many RPGs, MMOs, and different looter shooters, there's often a word called meta. Now, meta stands for most effective tactics available, which is generally an agreed upon strategy or weapon by the community to be the best weapon or strategy. Now, as for Destiny, when players talk about the meta, they're usually referring to said weapons that have the best perks in the game to perform the best that it can do. This is usually referred to as the meta weapons. In Destiny, this meta will constantly change. Every single season, we get new weapons, new perks, new artifact mods, and this usually changes up the meta every single season. Sometimes the meta can even change weekly, depending on how things work out and what's released into the game. Every single time a new perk or new gun is released into the game, this new meta is usually better than the old meta, meaning the old meta is basically useless and your full effort is trying to get this new meta weapon. So, as a meta slave, we go in and we farm the crap out of whatever activity drops this new meta weapon. Whether this activity takes us 5 minutes and we get lucky, or it takes several hours to even several days, we head in there and we don't stop playing the game until we get this new meta weapon. And this is all because someone told us this new meta weapon is a must-have weapon, and we must go and get it. So basically, a meta slave is someone that will do anything to get the new gun with the best perks. So now you know what a meta slave is, let's cover why this is a massive problem for Destiny. You might think it's a good thing that players are getting new guns and new metas to farm out every now and then. And technically, yes, you would be right. It is a good thing in the game that there are new weapons and new perks to go and get, as it gives the player base something to do. But honestly, the negatives far outweigh the positives to these new meta weapons. Forcing yourself into being a meta slave and spending hours on hours farming out one gun to get these two specific perks is toxic. It's bad for your mental towards Destiny, and it leads towards burnout. And what was all this grinding even for? All of that just to get a gun that's maybe 2% better than the old version that you had. In my opinion, it's simply just not worth it to spend all of this time to get a gun that's simply just 2% better. But unfortunately, that's just how these type of games work and operate. Now, as a full-blown meta slave myself, I'm not telling you not to go and do it, cause hell, I do it all the time. I sit there and farm Nightfall GMs to get that one adept weapon. I spend days on days trying to go flawless in trials just to get that perfect adept role. Even I do it myself, and so does everyone probably watching this video. Like I said earlier, my hope to this video is just to inform you of how bad this can actually be for you and your mental state. This could definitely be a reason as to why you are feeling burnt out, and it's probably a good reason as to why you aren't playing Destiny as much as you used to. Being this far into the Destiny universe, players are finding it harder than ever to play Destiny, and it's simply just because they've played the game the exact same way for the past 10 years. You need to start looking at playing Destiny differently, trying different guns out, using different non-meta weapons, trying different builds out. I find myself constantly just using Well of Radiance on a Warlock, but I know if I go out there and use Strand or even Stasis, I'm probably going to enjoy the game and play the game in a new playstyle that I haven't properly played before. And yes, I know this build or this non-meta gun won't be as good as the meta gun and build, but you will definitely have a lot more fun doing it because it's something new that you haven't tried out before. You know those videos on YouTube of random 6-man raids killing bosses with only the Rat King, or just using 6 Cloud Strikes, or only killing bosses with supers? Does it not seem really fun when you watch that? Because it definitely is. Yes, I know the meta guns will do it quicker and more effectively, but that's how you've been doing it for the past million times. So next time, try and do it differently, and go against the meta weapons. It's going to make you feel different about Destiny, and it may even revive that Destiny spark that you've been missing. All of these meta and best in slot guns are usually super difficult to either farm or even just get, and they are usually super rare. There is always an alternative to this meta gun that is almost as good, but it won't take you 45 hours to try and farm out. You know that Apex Predator rocket launcher that you really want, but you can't seem to finish Last Wish raids? Yeah, well, just go to the tower, head over to Zavala, and just buy the Hothead for 3 Vanguard Engrams. Yeah, it's not as good, but it's not much worse than the Apex Predator with the right perks. And you will save yourself hours on hours of farming just to do a little bit more DPS. Now, I'm not saying stop and don't go and farm out the Apex Predator, but you now have an alternative to use while you can slow down your pace at trying to farm the Apex Predator. Hell, you can even just do the Last Wish once a week instead of trying to do it a million times in the first week. On my channel, I've made a couple of videos now of great alternatives to these meta weapons. So if you're looking for something similar, come and check out my channel. I plan on doing many more of these type of videos. These sort of videos I tend to aim towards the solo player because these solo players can find it hard to do raids or even Grandmaster Nightfalls, and unfortunately they can never go and get these meta weapons because it's just too difficult. So on my channel I cover the alternatives to these meta weapons that are almost just as good, but they are super simple to obtain. And obviously as time goes on, the meta will continually change, so I will continue to make these alternative videos. So if that interests you, maybe drop a subscribe down below. But like I said earlier in the video, my goal of this video isn't to stop you from being a meta slave. Honestly, it's one of the best parts of Destiny, but it's also one of the worst parts that it has. I love being a meta slave. Farming out guns is genuinely fun, but at the same time, it forces me into playing the game, meaning that I get upset and I play the game when I don't really want to play it, which obviously leads to burnout. Another negative side effect to meta farming is a little bit of jealousy. If you've been farming a gun for days now and you still can't seem to get it, and you see someone with that gun that you want, you're probably going to get a little bit jealous and it's going to make you quite upset. So all I want to say is just sit back, relax, and calm down. You don't need to go out and farm this new meta gun as soon as it comes out. You have plenty of time to go and get it. Not to mention, the guns that you already have are probably almost just as good as this new meta weapon. It's just not labeled as the new meta weapon. Just take a look at your vault. Most of the guns in there that you use are probably guns from seasons and seasons ago that are still the best weapons. For me personally, my most used guns are guns that I've got seasons upon seasons ago, even years ago, because to me, these are still my favorite and they're the best guns to use. Yes, there are new guns that are out right now that are technically better, but to be honest, I don't feel like farming a dungeon out for days on days to get this new god roll. But anyway, Guardians, I hope I gave you some insight there as to why being a meta slave can be bad for you and the game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to drop a like and a subscribe down below. But anyway, thank you for watching. Try not to be as much of a meta slave as you have been. Maybe you might start enjoying a little bit of Destiny more. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.